Hello everyone, I'm Royalsealy, aka Mignonette, and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. If you're not, welcome back. I'm a Lolita fashion YouTuber, wearer, enjoyer. I've been wearing it since August of 2021, so I just passed my 3 years this year, both wearing Lolita and being involved in my local communities, and I've brought you here today to invite you into my wardrobe as we go through the pieces that are coming from 2024 into the 2025 New Year with me. Now, the first piece I'm showing you today has been with me for a few years now. A dear friend of mine who I met through my local com got this piece and a matching bloomer set in yellow and modified the bloomers into head bows when they got the full shirring JSK cut. So I have the lovely skirt portion, and we are both connected from the bloomer head bows. So I like this piece because it reminds me of a good friend and a good time. You're going to see I have another version of this print. I don't know if I said it. It's Rabbit's Cafe. This is not a listed one on Lollibra, I don't believe. And what's funny is I found a black version of this on JP Mercari recently that is similar in that it has the tiered cut, but it has ribbons on it. That one is also not on Lollibra. So I do have to wonder if you have Rabbit Cafe or if you know more about Rabbit Cafe, maybe you can help fill in those gaps on Lollibra. The next piece I'm talking about today is by Habilitage. So I love Habilitage. They're mostly known for their corsets and their corset print OTKs. I did an online order from them a year or two ago, which was really a cool experience. And this past July, I had the luck to be able to go to Japan and visit their physical location. I was really glad I did because this skirt was one I had been eyeing up for a while, but I wasn't sure if it would fit me. There's a bit of stretch in here, and it's not much, but when I got there, I tried it on, and I'm in love. So this is a lovely gothic skirt that I can wear with my outside of Lolita wardrobe, as I am more gothic and punk in my day-to-day, but it's also one that I can mix and match with my Lolita pieces for a nice, simple coordinate. Then we have Sweet Strawberry Ribbon, or Sweet Ribbon Strawberry by Angelic Pretty. This is the OP cut. I got this in the Canatier for what I feel is a pretty good deal. I was really worried about washing this piece because at the time I didn't see anything in Rain Dragon's wash Excel sheet about this piece, but with the pigmenting of the ribbons here and the strawberries, I was a little concerned given that it's older. And I'm happy to report that if you hand wash this, cold water, non-scented detergent, simple detergent, and a few Shout color capture sheets, I had no issue. Any of the red pigment that could have bled went into that Shout sheet. It was a little bit pink when I pulled it out. And the reason it's so wrinkly is because the shoulders here are actually filled with elastic, and if I hung it up, that elastic would slowly stretch, which is not really something I would like to do with this dress. So wrinkly it is until I pull it out and then go to wear it where I steam it. I like this one because of the asymmetrical bow size and just placement in general. I just think this kind of pink, red, and yellow is a gorgeous combination too. It really feels like spring and summer when I wear this dress. Yeah, Sweet Ribbon Strawberry by Angelic Pretty. Alright, so our next dress is Metamorphose's Rabbit Cafe in mint/sax. This is the OP cut. Again, it's pretty wrinkly because I fold it over this middle bar due to the full neck shirring, shoulder strap shirring. What I really like about this dress is that it's very lightweight and comfortable to wear. There's a lot of these detachable bows, and the detachable waist bow has this little pearl chain, and I love to coordinate with pearls in general. So it's just a natural fit. I will say I find this to be very comfortable as there's shirring in this front little chest portion and in the back. And there is a lot of stretch in these sleeves. However, I find the cuffs to be a little tight, so I might have to go in there and lengthen the piece of elastic in there. But something else that's cute is that the lace on the shoulder portions and on the skirt portion has this very cute bunny lace. I see this occasionally. There was this one blouse on JP Mercari I was watching for a long time. It was a black blouse with this white bunny lace. And I think at the end of the day, I was like, oh, you know, it had some damages and was missing parts. And I was like, the price is not the price I'm willing to pay for that. But, love this bunny lace. I think it would be very cute if they brought this bunny lace back. This series is just so very cute. So I'm going to try and get a little closer. Hopefully you can see this super, super cute bunny lace. Woohoo! And there's little ribbons on it. It's just very cute. Up next we have Honey Picnic, the skirt. So I like Honey Picnic a lot. If you're a Meta fan or a Crown Label fan, if you're not, this piece is usually a piece that wins hearts. It has this adorable bear having a little honey picnic. So this is the skirt, but it is the apron skirt. And what I think is really cool about that is this part right here. This is the apron part. The apron part. That's right. Oh, sorry, didn't go far enough. That's right. The border print is on the apron part, which I think is really fun because that means that I could potentially layer the Honey Picnic apron with the pattern on top of a solid OP or maybe a simple pattern OP. I think it would work really well with pinks, browns, and yellows to be layered on top of. The skirt itself is tiered excellently. This means it takes my largest petticoat and I feel like it still has room to spare. The actual waistband, very, very comfortable and flexible in terms of sizing. Just a lovely, lovely piece. The apron portion, sorry, this is upside down. I guess I could maybe rotate this in post, but now the apron portion of the skirt is a heart, which is cute, and it had this detachable little bear ribbon right here. I say bear ribbon because it was a ribbon of the fabric, but it had a little stuffed animal bear sewn on top of it. And fun fact about this skirt is that when I bought this, it actually came with the tag still attached, and it also came with the matching head bow in mint with the head bow attached. So looking at it and going through it, it definitely feels like it was not worn before, or at least was very gently worn, since you can never tell with older pieces that still have the tag. Either way, it's in great condition. I love it. This is a newer piece, and I look forward to wearing it out and about even more so in 2025. Here we have a surprise piece. This piece is always fun because if people see it from a distance, and I'm including myself in this, they don't realize that this is actually an Access Femme skirt. It kind of has an Alice and the Pirates vibe to it in the way that it's constructed with that high waist, and then also just the patterning itself. But if you look at it, it's super cute. So this is Access Femme Poetique, which is really cool. It's got so much shirring in the sides. It goes way above what the Lollibrary listing for it is. It has this corset lacing in the front and in the back that can be used to tighten the waist if needed. The actual waist bow for this I have somewhere else because usually when I cord this skirt, I'll put the waist bow right here and it'll look like a little bow collar situation. This print is so cute. There's a lot of cat imagery in here, so if you're a cat fan and you don't mind churches or crosses, this is an excellent piece. I got this at the KCON 2023 swap meet for about $7 American, and money well spent. This is a gorgeous piece, very comfortable skirt. I love to wear it, and it's made me realize how much I like these high-waisted skirt cuts or anything that's like right here and then you get a little corset to really detail the waist. I like that a lot. So there's not really a good way to show this dress just because there's a lot of components on it. What are we looking at here? Oh, okay. Yeah, so there's not really a great way to show this dress unless it's on someone or on a mannequin, but we are going to do our best here. So this is Metamorphose Temps de Fees, dress number 2, or dress 02 on Lollibrary. And really fun time on Lollibrary is if you look up in Metamorphose's tag dress 0 and then a number. I think it goes like up to 3. But you get a lot of these dresses that are very over the top, very couture. You can even check the like original sales price, and that'll give you an idea of what occasion these dresses were for. Because if you look at it, you're like, oh, this is like a lace monster. There's so much going on. It's got this gorgeous, massive lace. You've also got sewn on bows down the front, and the waist ties are actually sewn into the fabric. So you might see that this part is like a bit longer. It's additional lace that's going to lay down here on your waist as you wear it. And then you've got this nice pointed waist tie. It's got 4 sets of straps, which leads to very elegant looks, especially blouseless looks. If you were looking at one of the older GLBs, dress number 1 for Meta was actually photographed as part of a bridal series that was going on in this particular issue of the GLBs. So other big brands like Angelic Pretty and Baby the Starshine Bright also had models in wedding dresses. So the white version of dress 01 was in that one. And this one is definitely a wedding dress in its own right. It has shirring in the back, which I find to be very accommodating, as well as corset lacing for the shirring. So you're really continuing that very elegant vibe. It's very long, so it takes my longest petticoat. And fun fact, I wore this out for the first time at Rose Foray this past fall for their masquerade ball. So I was really happy to be able to wear this dress because it means a lot to me. And a reason why it means so much to me is it actually has this flocking pattern that I'm obsessed with that we will get to in a few dresses, but it's a very familiar flocking pattern that Meta used to use quite often. It has this like swirly Art Nouveau feeling to it with like a lot of plants. There's a part that kind of looks like a violin and some doves and roses. It's just very beautiful. So it's not just black or white or pink depending on the colorway. It's two-toned with that flocky pattern that is printed on top of it. It is so very lovely. It's just a very gorgeous piece. This is not a piece that I would go to any event in. This is more of a masquerade, like in the case of Rose Foray, or if I really wanted to make a statement at like a larger tea party at maybe a convention or a Lolita specific event. Yeah, so we'll come back to a similar piece in just a few dresses, but this is Dress 02 by Metamorphose. I'm also going to put a picture here of it because it's hard, like I said, to really show this piece off properly. Oh, it came with these like arm sleeve things that are very like old school just in general from when I was growing up. So you can do a blouseless look very easily and use those little puff sleeves as like your sleeve. Could be Hime. I just love it. I think it's great. Following that one is a Baby the Starshine Bright classic, and that is Ribbon Milky Sugar by Baby the Starshine Bright. I think this is the 2009 version. I'm pretty sure that's when it originally came out. But this is an older version of the dress, which I like because it's a bit shorter than the newer releases. But I do like that the newer releases mean I can now twin with my friends. And the reason I was attracted to this dress to begin with is that it reminds me of My Chemical Romance and the Black Parade if you're looking at the bodice. So I guess you could say just like a general military uniform vibe with like, you know, the structuring of the lace, the straight across pattern. It's very comfortable, it's fully shirred. There's shirring in the straps, both inner and outer. Neckties, I don't believe, yeah, they're sewn in neckties. The waist ties for this, I feel like, are more of an idea. They're very thin and they don't really hold their shape all too well. So I usually end up wearing this piece in particular without the waist ties because I'm like, they're not really doing a whole lot. I guess you could use it to tighten it, but with the shirring, I feel like it does a good enough job. This piece in particular made me try out an oven mitt. Not an oven mitt, a steaming mitt, because if you're trying to steam this piece, all of these different tiers of the skirt wrinkle pretty easily, so you kind of have to get in there. And that's when I realized that the steaming mitt was not for me. I couldn't really maneuver as well. So I have a pair of like silicone tongs that I use just for steaming pieces, especially pieces like this where I can move the fabric without burning my hands. There are a few pieces that I tend to wear frequently just because I find them very comfortable or easy to pull a cord together in and not have to think if my energy is pretty low. Baby the Starshine Bright's Ribbon Milky Sugar is definitely one of them, as I can get a beautiful cord out there while being able to conserve my energy, and the full shirring allows me to be comfortable throughout the day. Here is a newer piece in my wardrobe. I believe it joined this year or the tail end of last year, and this is Baby the Starshine Bright Heart Marble Chocolate Sugar Coated Cookies Tiered JSK. And I love this piece very much. I love the patterns. This is one of those pieces where if you follow me on Tumblr, you've seen me talk about it a few times. One of my favorite things to do on Tumblr is to find older blogs and go through them, see what people were talking about, see how people were cording. And this is a piece, as with many other pieces from a similar era, was referred to as classic Lolita. Whereas if you were to refer to that now, it's still a little divided, and it kind of depends on who you talk to, how you cord it. But I just think it's really fun to see how the three major styles, so to speak, evolved over time, where a piece like this, where it does look very sweet, with the cookies and the hearts and the lace doilies, can also be seen as very classic, depending on how you go with it. It's got a lot of like cherubs, roses, it has these sort of swirly tendrils and leaves, so there's elements of both here, which is my favorite kind of piece. A piece that kind of does a little bit of its own thing, a bit of a mix and a match. So this is the tiered skirt, very comfortable. It came with the head bow. This is my first brown piece, and I really feel like I was denying myself the luxuries of brown. I've realized that I feel very glamorous when I wear it. I don't know why. Maybe it's just one of those colors that lends itself to it. So, big fan of brown pieces in Lolita now. Now, interesting things about this particular piece. And if you have ever owned this piece, or if you know someone who owns it, if you've been around on the internet in Lolita spaces while this dress released, I have a question for you. So the straps of this piece are sewn into the bodice, which is a bit more unique, but it happens especially on these older pieces. And according to the library, if I zoom in really hard, that does seem to be the case. Here is where my question is. If you own this dress, if you know someone who owns this dress, where is the label on this dress for you? Because mine is on the back shoulder right here, and that's totally fine, totally normal. But it's sewn upside down, and when I first saw this, I was a little worried, because I was like, oh, is this like a replica? Like, I've heard about older pieces too, where people would have all these tags laying around and then sew them on. Now, I think it could go either way. So here's, I guess, is the reasoning for why it could or could not be from my own point of view. Reasons why I don't think it's a replica. It has one heart. The different sizing on the tags would indicate via how many hearts. So this had 3 sizes in its release. This has 1 heart, so it's the first size. Also, if you were to look in, let me get a little closer. Also, if you were, I don't know how well this is showing. So if you were to look in at this, you can kind of see, hopefully, it does seem to be actually embroidered. The letters have individual lines going through them. There's also this detailing pattern underneath, which is like these little diagonal lines. I hope they show up. And that's on the top and the bottom. And when I was looking at how to determine if a baby tag was fake, that was one of the areas to look at. So it does have that tag. Also, the buttons on this piece are the buttons I see everywhere. We've got the triplet heart button down on the bodice. All the lace looks correct. The button for the waist tie looks to be correct. There is technically a tag on the inside of this dress. And it looks okay to me, so I just feel like maybe they sewed it upside down. But I wanted to know if anyone else had this experience with this particular dress. If you know, if you have experience with this piece, heart marble chocolate sugar-coated cookies, tiered JSK, definitely let me know. I was going through old lace market listings and trying to like zoom in on different pieces to see what was going on. And I didn't see that many with the actual tag shown. And the one I did see, their tag was not upside down. So if you know anything, definitely let me know. But yeah, all the lace is correct. So there's too many factors in here that are correct where I'm like, this couldn't be a replica. And I don't even know if this piece was popular enough for a replica because I wasn't around at the time. But yeah, it's more so for my own fascination than anything. Yeah, so if you have information, please share it. Thank you. Alright, so it has not been too long since dress number 2, and we're about to get to the dress that is my ultimate dream dress, love of my life, and so on and so forth. And this is Bridal OP by Metamorphose Temps de Fille. It is an older piece. It had an entire line, an entire bridal series that released with this back in the early 2000s or mid-2000s. And it has the Art Nouveau floral decoration with these little ferns, this little Voss curvy situation where the middle looks like a mandolin or some kind of stringed instrument here. You've got these little ribbons in the flocking pattern because it's on the shantung silk. Doves. And yeah, so I'm obsessed with this particular pattern. I'm so obsessed that I have an entire spreadsheet dedicated to pieces from Meta that use this specific flocking print. Because Meta's done a few flocking prints. They've done Damask. They've also done a Rosie, was like a Rosie flocky print. That was a pretty big one. But this particular flocky print, I believe the earliest I have it documented in my spreadsheet is from the early 2000s with the bridal series. But pieces that still use this were in the early 2010s as well. Ornamental or ornament print, ornament flocky, that's one of the other names of it, but there's also several other pieces that have this flocking. One day I'll be doing a video covering that just because I'm obsessed with it. Let me zoom in, that way you can see a bit more of the pattern. By zoom in, I mean just come closer. So you can see it's got this kind of like two-toned look with it. We've got the black silk or black fabric underneath that's kind of shimmery and shiny. So it's really hard to photograph this correctly in a way where you can see this gorgeous dark flocking pattern. On the base of this particular swoop, that's where Metamorphose put their name. So that's a fun little detail. Yeah, I love it. It has these chunky waist ties that are my favorite. I was very worried because this particular piece does not have any shirring in it. But it's surprisingly, I wouldn't say like size accessible, but for the time and for what I like expect for Lolita pieces, Meta tends to be the one that always gets me regardless of release in a good way, as in it usually fits. So yeah, we've got this label here, the Meta label. So I don't know how much that actually took because my camera cut off, but I got one of those two-way like assistive devices where if you need help with doing your buttons, which I usually do, or if you need help zipping stuff up, it has like a little hook attachment. And I bought one of those specifically for this dress because usually my partner is around to help, But if they're not, it really like locks me out of wearing this piece. And again, this is my ultimate dream dress, so I kind of want to get into it when I want to get into it. And I got it with the hook. The problem is I can't really reach that far. So currently doing some stretches, hoping to kind of be able to reach back and get that back zip on my own one day. Following that one, we have Bouquet Print Ribbon JSK. It has this detachable yoke that at this moment I have in my accessories bin. And something that's so glamorous about this piece is all of the detachable bits. So we've got this big bow on the front that's kind of like this silky pattern. I like the way it's shaped and structured. These detachable waist ribbons that have this pearl chain between the two of them. And then, as I said before, they do have a detachable yoke that has this like big giant lace and a ribbon on it in this section. So here's the buttons where you would attach for that. They also have this like layer. So here's the first luxurious layer of lace we get. It's rosy, it's beautiful, it's massive. You flip that over. Okay, here's our gorgeous little strap. And then a little bit of tulle with a little more lace. And this particular lace part is detachable as well, as you can see. So you can really determine just how like fancy fluffy you want to be that day. If I want to go for a simpler, more classical cord, I'll remove like the yoke. Usually I just remove the yoke in general because I want people to see my blouse details and my necklaces as well if I'm wearing a necklace that day. But if I want it to be a little more toned down, then I would remove this outer ruffle. And then that's not the only ruffle. There's also a ruffle tulle layer on the bottom of the dress skirt portion. So here you can see it's got a lovely built-in petticoat, just a little something to give it an extra fluff. And then here's the underskirt lining section and the buttons for this tulle layer. So this makes it shorter, can make it longer, makes it a bit more fanciful. I usually prefer to keep that on with the shoulder that has the tulle. That way it's like a little more connected. The chest yoke portion matches anything, so any level of fluff. But we also have these fabric ribbons that use the same print of this Bouquet Print series. And then we've got our corset lacing. And I love when Meta does buttonhole corset lacing instead of corset lacing through lace, because the lace usually wears over time, but with these nice sturdy buttonholes. The lace that's going through this little buttonhole portion makes lacing it a little more difficult, but it's not too bad. And we see these gorgeous little buttons that are fabric covered, which I like. You can kind of see that the black part of the print kind of has this like, I don't know, it reminds me of like staticky noise, texture-y situation with it, so it's not just black. It's kind of two-toned, giving it a little more dimension. Yeah, it's just a really gorgeous piece. And this is also what I usually have stored flipped over the hook, the hanger, because it's very heavy, especially on that bottom. It is a tiered skirt, meaning it has more room for petticoat. So this is great any level of petticoat, but it can handle a massive petticoat if you really want to go all out. I think I wore this for my birthday tea one year just because it's a gorgeous piece and you feel a little elegant in it. It feels really good. Bouquet Print obviously just had a re-release not that long ago, this past year, 2024, and they actually released 2 sets of it, or 2 editions of it. What is it called? 2 releases of it because the first one sold out. So I'm very excited to be able to have these mass twinning events yet again for a piece that I already really like. I did notice, unfortunately, that they did not include the black and blue bouquet print. As someone who loves the green one in particular, I hope one day to be able to get it, especially because with the re-release there's going to be more bouquet prints in the market, so I'm hoping to be able to get a green one at some point. It just wasn't the right time at the re-release. So yeah, bouquet print ribbon in the black and blue colorway. I think this particular one actually broke a hanger at one point. Not one of the ones with like the level, but one of the ones I just had it on, because it's so heavy, so if you're not careful when you're moving it and more weight goes on one end, it will snap the hanger. It's very heavy. Up next we have Angelic Pretty's French Cafe, the MTO release. And what is not to love about this particular print? So the first time I wore Lolita out into public was with my partner at a local French cafe. Sadly, that French cafe is no longer there as it was in the past. So I have a lot of like warmness about this particular print because it reminds me of a very good time with my partner and the first time I went out in Lolita. And yeah, I just love it because I got the black colorway. It's still very much like clearly this is a sweet print. You're going to stand out. It's very vibrant. But I do feel like the black colorway maybe doesn't stand out as much. And I think that's just Lolita blindness. You're like, oh, this is a casual cord. Meanwhile, it's like you're dripping in bows and lace. But this one is a cutie pie. She's got this gorgeous little daisy lace. The ladder lace here across the front with a little silk bow. Very cute. I typically don't like when there's a yoke or bib, but if it is of the same printed fabric on a printed fabric piece, for example, I don't mind it as much. It's usually when the bib is like a different color that I have a personal dislike for it. Nothing wrong with it, just my personal aesthetic. It has corset lacing. That's not in it right now, but the corset lacing is little loops of fabric, so sometimes I have a hard time getting it in there, which is why it's without it. Shoulder strap buttons use the same loop. This was the first, and I believe only, main piece from Angelic Pretty that I bought new with tag. I did it during the MTO on APUSA, and I just remember being very disappointed when I received it, because I think in the Western community especially, if like you're new, and maybe it's not so much so anymore. No, it's still like pretty big, but not as prevalent as it used to be. Like AP is like very held in a high regard, and I know it's been like hit or miss with their re-releases and MTOs, so you don't really know if the piece you're gonna get is going to be as nice as it could be. There's been some flops in terms of re-releases, from what I understand. And I remember, I don't know if it's just because like I built it up in my head, but obviously there's import fees for Angelic Pretty pieces in general. If you're buying from a Western store, they also have to include additional costs to cover the physical store maintenance location. So I think it definitely makes sense it costs more, but I just remember being disappointed about the buttonhole, I'm blanking on the name. The cotton hole, but the custom lace on the bottom, I remember being very disappointed because, and I'll bring it close, I hope that this will show, and I probably talked about this last year because it really like tormented me when I got it. I was very sad, and it took me a little bit to be in the mood to wear this dress because I don't know how well it's showing up, but usually when you get this kind of lace and it's embroidered, and even on the edges, it'll be trimmed, and this is the truth with Taobao pieces as well that use the same type of lace. And I just remember being really disappointed because I felt as though the fuzziness on the bottom of this lace for the price that it was pretty unacceptable. I don't even know it's going to show up. But there's part where it doesn't even look like a harsh line. Like, it just looks like fuzzy fabric on the bottom. It's not trimmed very well. All of the A's and some of the P's have, like, striped threads coming out of it. And that was true when I got this. So, I mean, obviously that's, like, a close detail to look at, and people far away won't see it. But as a first-time customer, when I received this piece, I just remember being very disappointed because I've never received a meta piece or a baby piece and experienced that kind of like, oh, you know, like everything has felt very worth it for the cost in terms of construction and the quality. Whereas when I looked at this little detail here, it just felt very blaring. And then I had an even worse time where I was like, okay, let's just see, like maybe AP is not maybe it was just like a bad one off, so I was like trying to be like, let's just buy, I need a blue headband, they have a blue headband. And then I bought the blue headband on AP USA, and I got it, and it was dirty. So I was just kind of like, I guess I'm not supposed to buy new from AP, which is fine because I like seeing AP on other people, but AP is not my preferred style of sweet or classic when they do classic. So, guess it's just not meant to be, but this is Angela Pretty's French Cafe, the MTO. I got these socks in 3 colorways, white, pink, and black, and then I got the KC in pink and black. I ended up selling the pink KC because it just didn't go with the pink socks from the series, so I was like, well, can't really use it for anything else. So this one will probably stick around for a bit just because of the nostalgia of me and my partner going out for my first time in Lolita at a cafe, enjoying a little treat. I like the polka dots of it. I like the daisies and the teacup. I like the kettle. Yeah, I like the cutlery set. I like all the treats on here. I like how it's a little more like photorealistic-y. I usually see this kind of kitschy, photorealistic-y feeling for Meta's sweeter prints from an older time. I like seeing it here with like the realistic style cups, foods, etc. This is Night Carnival Ribbon JSK. It has pearls, so that mimics more of that night sky. Detachable bows, detachable collar even, so if you want to wear it without the collar, you have like this smooth fabric underneath. It has this little tulle. I think this tulle sleeve portion is, to me, what reminds me a lot of like older space movies with the shoulder pad or frill fabric. It has a snap in the back for the collar itself. There's corset lacing using that lovely buttonhole method that we covered earlier. The buttons are like these little diamondy cut sort of plastic buttons, so it's really pretty. And it's the same case for the buttons on the waist ties as well. It's also double layered waist ties, so we get the waist tie that is the regular fabric here, and also this tulle waist tie that is the same as the shoulder and as the peplum. I haven't actually worn this one out yet because I'm kind of trying to see how it's going to fit into my wardrobe. I really like it and I plan to keep it, but as I mentioned earlier, I'm going through a style change and like a change in what I want to do with Lolita fashion. So right now, while I'm downsizing, while I'm rotating pieces in and out, I kind of have to see what's left at the end of it and how I can incorporate that with this. But I like it. We've got different rides. We've got heart-shaped balloons. There's the little carousel horses on parts of the print. It's got stripes. It's got gold and silvery goldish bows. It's just got a lot going on. So I think there's a lot to play with, a lot to work with. And when I think Crown Label, I feel like this is a piece that shows you what Crown Label is, and that it's just kind of these nostalgic, like, more vintagey style illustrations in a, at the time, more modern silhouette, I guess, when you consider Lolita fashion. And yeah, I just think it's so cool, because it's got diamonds, it's got pearls, the actual bow itself on the front, the waist bow, is massive. It has the fabric from the bodice portion and the other portions as well, with the tulle covering similar to how the detachable neckline is. It has a moon with star charm sewn on in the middle. The points of the ribbon have like these little jewel crystalline, diamondy looking beads on it on both sides. So I really feel like they're setting you up to be able to wear this with golds in different colors, silvers in different colors. You can do a jewel route, you can do a pearl route. There's just one of everything here. So versatility, a lot to work with. Excited to wear this out one day once I get things a little more settled down. Here we have a piece that I love it so much. I bought it several times in 2 cuts, 3 colorways, and it's Baby the Starshine Bright Kuma Kumia Marine Island 1 JSK. So if you were here in my first wardrobe tour, you might remember I had the 2 cut in pink. Pink is really not a color I like too much on myself. I just don't think it flatters me as much. And the 1 cut is a longer bodice, a little more structured. It is a bit more limiting in terms of like the shirring on the chest and waist. Whereas the 2 cut is a empire cut, and yeah, you get so much more wiggle room. I ended up not liking the empire waist cut on me as much just because I don't have a lot to fill out that section. So to me, it clung in a way that I didn't like on my chest. So when it comes to Lolita fashion, usually the measurement I look out for is the waist, not so much the bust. So that can sometimes lead to like weird fit issues. My favorite thing about this print is that in all colorways, they balance the print very well. So in the navy colorway, it's dark navy, but it's kind of like a navy-ish purple for the background, and then the sand is a lavender with a nice, lovely pink shell. Now, the colorway for the sand will change depending on the main color. And I think that does well to make sure the print pops in various colorways and you don't lose anything. So when I had the pink, it also had the same lavender sand on the bottom, which pink and lavender, like, what a lovely combination. There's so much glitter on this piece that I'm surprised even after wearing it a bunch and washing it, like, the glitter is still there. We've got seahorse kumias, we've got sea butterfly usakumias, we've got fish and turtles, we've got jellyfish. This is really the JSK that has everything, and I love marine biology, I love marine animals, so I'm just obsessed with this piece in particular, which is why I bought it 3 times in 2 cuts and 3 colors. The story about this dress is that I bought this dress after waiting for a really long time. I had been holding on to the pink 2 cut despite not really liking how it looked on me, because I was holding off for any of the other colorways in the 1 cut. And I remember all the pieces I was seeing were either very damaged, like several stains, looking crusty, and then still priced very highly, or they were being sold by resellers on Lace Market. And I was just like, I don't really want to deal with these resellers because I know it's overpriced and I know it's not going to be in any better condition than I'm going to get from anyone else, and I would rather buy from an actual community member on Lace Market than a reseller, because then at least you're dealing with someone who's actually in the fashion. Now, it was my birthday when I was like, let me treat myself. I will buy the navy colorway in the 1 cut. I know it costs a little more by this reseller. It'll be fine, like, hopefully that means it's in good shape. And allegedly it was new with tag. I doubt that. The reason I doubt that is because when I got it, luckily I got it off, there was like food yellowy brown residue right here on the bodice, partially on the pearl, partially on like the print itself. And when I got it, the tag for it was also bent in half. And the way that the tag, the newest tag, was pinned on was with this, it was a bobby pin and like a loose thread, and then with how it was bent, I was like, you could have just looped this through here. Like, I'm almost positive it was not actually newest tag. Or if it was newest tag, they wore it out, or someone wore it out with the tag on, because there was food residue on there. And I just remember being like, this is so, like, never again. Word of warning, it's worth waiting if you can. I thought it'd be a nice little birthday gift to myself. And then I just got very depressed when I received it, and I had to immediately clean it. Now, I have worn this a lot since then because I love this print. I love this series. Gorgeous piece. Would recommend, if you can. I only really see it consistently up right now from resellers. And if you can, hold off, because it's always going to cost more from a reseller, and the quality is really not going to be any better. And in my case, it was actually worse. So, you know, patience is key in Lolita. But sometimes I understand if you are impatient, like I was. I also unfortunately see it more often with newer Lolitas who don't know much more about buying from a reseller. So if you're not very familiar, one of the ways you can tell if someone is a reseller on Lace Market is if you go to their profile, see how long they've actually been in it, compare it to the amount of feedback they have, and if you look in the feedback, you should be able to see if they were either a seller or a buyer. So it's like combining that with also how many listings do they have up. So if they have 25 listing up, they've been in there for not very long, they have like 400 reviews. It could just be someone that is like rotating their wardrobe very frequently, but if all of their feedback is them as the seller, that's probably going to be your tip that it's not someone doing a wardrobe cleaning. It is someone that is reselling it. Another way you can tell is if you take the name of the piece you're interested in, you put it in the Lace Market search bar, and then you click you completed and ongoing. In the case of this dress, Kumakumiya's Marine Island, they use the exact same photos that they've used for every other listing that they've done of this. Because they had a lot of these at one point. I know because I'd been looking for it for so long that I would get the email updates. And it was always the same photos of like 3 colorways of this dress that they owned, or like 2 colors of this dress. And they were just constantly like selling this piece in the different colors that they had with no new images. So if you do it that way, that can usually tell you if someone is a reseller. I would always warn, sometimes things are priced higher not because it's a reseller, but because they're looking at things like the cost it was to import it from wherever they got it. It could be a piece that people really love, or it could be someone who doesn't really want to part with that piece, but for one reason or another is. And the other reason you can't go off of just the amount of feedback they have is if they've been in the fashion for 10 years, it's going to make sense for them to have hundreds and hundreds of feedback as they may be buying and selling things. But if they're only selling and they use the same photos for every listing of the same pieces and they've sold that listing several times, it could be a case where they're a reseller. So that's my tips for knowing if someone is a reseller. Now we have a piece from Metamorphose Temps to Fee. This is Card Playing Kitty, aka Wonder Card Queen of Hearts, the side bustle cut that they released a few years ago. I love this print. You're about to see another piece from it very soon. This is the Sax colorway. I like that it has this like tuxedo jacket cut front look with like the vest. So originally I got this not only because I love the piece, but also because I was hoping that Royal Vegas Retreat was going to come back, and I was like, poker, win big, or play big, or whatever, Las Vegas feeling. Side bustle, so it's a little bit more extravagant, OTT. Motif on it itself is a lot of black cats, which I like. There's cookies, there's pies, there's yarn that the cat is playing with, there's roses. It is Wonder Card Queen of Hearts, clearly an Alice-inspired piece. I will say, because of the unique bodice and the alternating side bustle, as well as the alternating color of ribbons on the bottom, hopefully you can see that. There's like a blue ribbon on one side and a black ribbon on the other. It is a more extravagant piece, so it's not one I always get to wear, but it's fun. I like it. Now the next piece is also Metamorphose Temps to Fee, Card Playing Kitty, aka Wonder Card. And this is another piece that I usually have folded over here. It is a nice thicker fabric. It is the apron JSK, I believe from the original release. And on the bodice there is a button for each suit of card. And then the actual apron buttons onto that, which is how you get this kind of look. And then it allows these card suit buttons to really pop on the white background. The apron itself is embroidered with Metamorphose's name on it. It also has these tiny little heart pockets with these ivory ribbons. And this apron gets a lot of use in my wardrobe because I have a lot of Metamorphose. So it's nice for me to bring out a Metamorphose embroidered apron. It also is shorter, which I like. Something I enjoy doing whenever Meta does re-release an older series is looking at all of the different second-hand sites, because usually older cuts of that dress will be released. So that's how I ended up with the apron JSK cut of this series. And I'm really happy I did, because it's a little more casual than the side bustle tuxedo bodice JSK that they more recently released. It also is shorter, which I like because I'm 5 foot. So I like something where my knee is like showing a little bit, makes me feel a little taller, photograph a little taller, just look a little bit longer, which I like. I also think it's really cool that they have a pseudo bustle of the same printed material in the back, which makes this piece look even fluffier and fuller. It has the buttonhole style corset lacing that some of the other Meta pieces that are older have. And I love this piece, and I think this warm ivory, like almost biscuity color. Let me show you a bit more of like what they have going on here. So you see the cat. Oh, that's the hat. You see the cats. You see the heart-shaped cherries. The cards, the Joker has the black cat, the little Meta swan on top of the emblem. I can't remember what that is actually called. The flag, the ribbon that the kitty cat can play with. One of my most worn pieces. Up next, we have Baby the Star Shine Bright, and this is their cherry ribbon print. I fell in love with this dress when I saw it in a GLB ad. I bought like a massive lot of GLBs on like Yahoo Japanese auctions. So I've slowly been leafing through them, and what I really liked about this print when I saw it in the ad is the way the brand corded it was very summery, and it had never occurred to me that you could have open toe like wedge shoes for your Lolita cord, especially in the summer. And with the sailor type stripe that is printed on it, as well as on the bodice, which I'll show you a bit more as I talk about it, it really lends to like this little sailory moment. And I would like a sailor blouse for it at some point. I just don't have the other pieces, and it would become a one-time use basically. And I'm trying to like shy away from pieces like that. I like it in the ivory colorway. It has this really puffy cherry border lace, and it's really soft. It has these cherries. It says drawing in the syrup, baby cherry, fairly sweet. So that's like what the text says, so it alternates between these ribbons of baby's text and the cherry with the ribbon text. I like that the bodice has a lace section. You have to actually tie these parts if you want the little bows. The bodice has this like repeating of the stripes throughout, which I really like. Nice, large, crunchy lace. It feels very beachy to me. And when I bought this, it was on secondhand, a Japanese site. And the first time I wore this out, so a little thing about this is it was new with tags, and it really looked and felt new with tags. And I wore this for the first time to a tea party, and it poured that day. Now, everything online, from what I could see, said this dress did not run. But if you're buying, especially an older dress, and you have never washed it before, a good thing to at least try rinsing it in cold water with the color catcher sheets, because new dresses, especially if they're older, could have excess pigment or dye sitting on top that has not actually been absorbed by the fabric. So what's going to happen is, if you're like me and you wear this out for the first time, you get drenched from the rain. All of the loose navy dye, the loose pink dye, is going to spread, because now it needs to go somewhere. It's motivated from the rain, from the water. So I was a bit mortified because I had just gotten this and I'd really been wanting it for a bit. I was really into it, and I was like trying not to look down while I was at the tea party, because I'm like, there's nothing I can do at this point. Like, if it's like I can see it blurring a little bit, I just can't look down because I'm gonna see it and that's all I'm gonna think about. So the tea party was great. They had excellent vegetarian options. I remember leaving very full. It is very fun to get caught up in the rain in Lolita because it's just like, oh, it happens. You know, sometimes when we look at photos of events or from various Lolitas, we don't really know the story behind it, so it does feel like kind of a silly story looking back on it. And I can tell you that by rinsing this thoroughly, I was able to get most of the excess pigment that had spread from the rainwater off. And since washing this, since wearing it, it hasn't bled anymore, which really does lead me to think that, okay, it was just excess pigment that had been sitting on there, and since it was never worn or washed before, the first time it came in contact with water, it went a little wild and was all over the place. Now, I definitely could have avoided that if I had done a simple rinse before wearing it with the color catcher sheets, and then I would have been good. But I did learn a lesson that day, so now that has become a thing that I do when I get a new piece. There's also, in general, like a good idea to wash any piece you get, because I have been like collecting Lolita horror stories in a playlist, as well as like a few other playlists that I think are more public. And I remember one very vividly, and if I can find it or remember, I'll link it, or like I'll put it in here. But the gist of it is that someone moved and brought their clothes, or like they had bought clothing secondhand, and they had, unaware, there was like little moth eggs, fabric moth eggs, and I guess they hatched, and they were in their closet, uninhibited, and with little fabric moths, they can like chew on your fibers of your various nice pieces, which you do not want. But if you get a piece secondhand and you wash it, usually that will get rid of any dormant egg sacs or, I guess, like moth stuff. Yeah, so that's why you should always wash your stuff if it's secondhand, especially because you never know if there is a secret little critter on there, and then you don't want to have to fix your entire wardrobe because of these critters. You have a dress that you have washed, and it is not in that spreadsheet, you can submit wash information, which will help everyone. There's a few pieces I've had where I'm like, I don't know if this can wash. I'll just throw it in and see what happens. And then I'm able to submit that to Rain Dragon, who updates it. And then I like to think I help someone going forward. They're like, oh, cool, I can just wash this. Because it's nothing scarier than having like a dress just get stinky and more disgusting. Don't be afraid to wash things. It will work out. Follow your precautions. Use shout sheets. Read spreadsheets. See if anyone else has washed it before. So I mentioned before that I got that abilatage skirt when I was in Japan in the store. Here is the only other Lolita fashion piece that I bought while in Japan in terms of main pieces. I got this from, I think it was Closet Child Harajuku. And the thing with the Harajuku store is you actually have to look online using the Harajuku tag just to see what's in the store, because they don't put all of their stuff out, and they do have a lot. So this ended up being like a little project for me. Was if we were on the train, I would open up, I would go through a couple sheets while we were going to our next destination, see what they had, and then so on and so forth. This was actually a dress that they had out, and I didn't need that. But if you are planning to go to Japan, planning to go to the Harajuku Closet Child store, I highly recommend leading up to it, go through it. There's so many pages, so many more than you could think. Maybe the night before, go through it and just see. That way, if there's something you really like, you show it to the shopkeeper and they can pull it out and you can decide, oh, is this something I want? The only Lolita main pieces I bought at a Closet Child was Baby the Star Shine Bright, and I think it's like Sweet Sunny Day, or like Sunny Day, Tutu, JSK, Sweet Daisy Day, something to that effect. Again, I'll put that in the ribbon on the bottom. And this is by Baby the Star Shine Bright. While we were in Japan, my friend and I were both into Lolitas. We met through the same comm. And one of our last activities that we were doing on our trip was going to Swallowtail Butler Cafe. I wanted something nice that was a little more fitting for a butler cafe. Alright, so my camera died, and I'm using my phone now, so fingers crossed. I don't know how much saved from this particular dress, My goal going to Japan was to make a Lolita coordinate to wear to the Swallowtail Butler Cafe. If you're unfamiliar, it is a butler cafe that was in a lot of GLBs. They primarily serve French cuisine and afternoon tea, and it's just like a lovely time. You go in, and it's a themed cafe, so you're the lord or the lady, and they have butlers of various ages and like tropes, I suppose. So my friend and I, when we went to Japan, that's something we really wanted to do. We were lucky enough to get reservations while we were there. So this is the dress that I ended up getting to wear to Swallowtail. The tutu version of the JSK tutu, because the bottom is this tulle. I also wore it when I went to BB&B's tea party in Boston this past fall. And I really like this dress. I like that it combines different patterns, the versatility of this dress, because it's more of like a classic-y leaning or like more mature, sweet leaning piece. We've got our detachable bow. These bows right here are sewn in, and then it's got a scallop on the bodice, which I don't see too often going up. I have some of Baby's JSKs where they have scallop hemlines and scallop on the like bib or like top portion of the JSK, but none that are on the neckline. So that's like something really fun and unique about this piece. Now here we go. Here's the nightmare time. I got home from Japan. I wore this without any issue, any injury, no casualties. I wash it, and that was my mistake. I didn't at the time see anything in the wash guide that said anything against it, and I've washed various baby pieces before across different years. So I was like, it will be fine. It was not fine. It was a nightmare, but I became stronger because I learned new techniques. So on the skirt, there is this printed ribbon that is a deep dark red. None of the berries, none of the cherries bled. This dark red line that is printed on the JSK spread out horizontally, but it did not stop there. So now that I've seen this, right, I was like, oh, well, I'll just do some like spa cleaning and stuff like that. Like I'll do the tricks that I'm seeing on this blog where they're talking about oxy-cleaning and portions and like other things. Like there's micellar water. I'm eventually going to do like a stain removal video because I have worked with so many stains and bleeds since being in the fashion that I feel maybe I can help consolidate that information. But that was an issue. Also, there was a little bit of bleed from the cherry in the armpit when I washed it, but most of the other cherries did not bleed, so that's why I'm like, what happened here? And then what else do we have going on? Well, when I was working so very hard to remove the red bleeding here, I had bleeding from a different portion of this dress that I did not expect. The scallop bodice, you know, it's so cute. There's like this decorative heart-shaped lace here on the top. It's so stunning. It bleeds if you soak it for too long. So I had black dye easing out of both sides and turning it gray on like this little border edge here, both under and over. And I was just exhausted at this point. And at this point, I was just exhausted because not only am I dealing with red dye bleed and I'm trying to get out that, now I have to worry about black dye, which is like a whole nother level of scary. And the thing that helped the best was just flooding the JSK with water. I held this underneath my faucet on the ribbon and just like held it under there for like 15 minutes as the water rushed over there. I watched a giant stain of red just wash right out. So flooding the fabric really helped. I did a little bit of OxyClean, and I don't know if it actually helped any more than just using my unscented low ingredient type of detergent. But, you know, I tried it all on this dress, and who can really say? I got it into a wearable, workable condition where I wasn't mortified just by wearing it. And I had a great time wearing this to the Boston BB&B Deco Tea Party, which I would love to do a video at some point on it. It's been several months now, but it had a really good time. But that is this JSK. I wore it to Swallowtail, which was great. And then I wore it to a tea party with BB&B with a lot of my friends and people of the comm. So it's just like a dress filled with good memories, despite all of the nightmares washing it has become. And I say nightmares, but I do feel a little more confident now in tackling stains and washing pieces. So it was a nightmare when it happened, but I feel better now. Up next, we have Baby the Star Shine Bright, Doki Doki Magic Strawberry. JSK, I think this is the 2 cut. It's whatever cut has the apron, as you can see. Apron is attached by rose clear buttons on the front, which are separate from the pale pink strawberry buttons for the waist ties. And it has this lovely large waist bow that I can put here, and I do think it looks better with it there. Oh, I actually put this on backwards, but I'll undo one side. So the pockets themselves have little strawberry lacing on it. It's very cute, very tiny. You can work those. Sometimes I'll put like a ring or 2 in there. I like this kind of giant loose knit lace that, or like kind of crochet lace that Baby does sometimes. So let's see if we can get in there. Yeah, so you see it's like nice and large, and like you can really see the different details. It's just a beautiful lace. 10 out of 10. This is a piece where it's pink, but it's a warm pink. It's a very specific shade of pink. The pink that I've worn in other JSKs and in Kuma's Marine Island, I don't know if that one's like a cooler pink or what's going on, but I remember putting that one on and not liking the way it was with my skin tone. I have more yellow undertones, and something about the shade of pink and the dark red on this piece actually looks quite nice on me. So I enjoy wearing it. This is a piece I don't think I would ever get rid of just because I really like it. There's like these big, I feel like because I'm short, you're not really seeing a lot of the JSK. But the skirt portion has these various heart pastries, donuts, strawberries. It's just super, super cute. This is a dress that machine washes very easily. I've never had any bleeding, and this was the piece I was afraid to wash. But it is a newer piece, which I think is probably partially why. I do like the dark colorway of this. I think it's really cute. I would be tempted with that one just because I like darker colors more usually. And this one's pretty bright. Up next is a famous piece by Angelic Pretty. It is Whipped Magic, aka Radioactive Cupcakes, aka Atomic Cupcakes. And this was actually the first JSK I saw as an adult. It was during lockdown, where a random video just got like suggested to me on YouTube. It was Lovely Lore's The Ugliest Dress. And I just remember being like, well, what's the ugliest dress? And it was Whipped Magic. So I have some nostalgia for this piece because of that. And I guess technically you could say it's the one that got me in. But the actual piece that I was so motivated by is later to come. But this dress has like a lot of warm feelings associated with it just because if it wasn't so obnoxious, then I don't know if I would have known about it, and maybe I wouldn't have gotten into Lolita fashion. Because I had some knowledge of it from when I was a kid, and it just didn't mesh with my style at the time. But this really got me interested to seeing like what's going on over here, you know? What's there to say? It is neon green, it's got purple, it's got yellow, it's got pink. So I think this is the white X pink colorway. And you can tell because of what color immediately touches the dark pink line. So there's a yellow colorway that this one sometimes gets confused with. But the yellow will directly touch the dark pink line. And that's how you know it's the yellow colorway. It's like very much you have to zoom in to find out. I like it. This is the cut that has the yoke or bib. Usually I don't like this, as we've talked about earlier, but it has this like nice tulle, so it feels very fluffy, and it does have more of the actual print underneath. It has ladder lacing, which I like. It's also shorter, and I'm 5 foot, so it fits me very well in that regard. It has cupcake lace that's pink, very cute. This is one of those dresses that my partner associates with me. So again, like another like pink dress. But I think in order for me to really like pink, it either has to be very absurd or like a specific shade of pink. It's fun to cord. I like it. There's a few people out there that really cord this dress well. I think Serendipity is someone who I see that has like this specific shade of green blouse from the cupcake and the stripe. And I feel like they do a great job of cording it. So I'm always very happy to see people taking this piece and really trying to work something out with it. This is Meta's Sweet Rabbit's Bustle JSK, the white. It has a lovely dusty pink, I would say, bustle. I saw someone wearing this print as an OP for the first time in person at KCON last year, like the year before. I really like this print. I don't know, I feel like it's a lesser known print, maybe, or maybe it's just not popular. I'm not sure why, because I know people don't always like bustles, but I like a bustle. There's a lot of these ribbons. They're not detachable, they're sewn directly on it. This did have tiny little forks and spoons sewn to the waist ribbon, which again is attached directly. One of them fell off, so I have to sew one of them back on, and then my friend had this random little chocolate earring that was included in her Taobao order, so they were kind enough to give that to me. I'll probably attach the chocolate to the other side, just because its bunny is enjoying chocolates and sweets and parfaits. It has this under ruffle of dark pink, which really connects it well with the bows on top and the bustle in back. It comes with, to me, it came with the matching KC, which I always love. And it has full back shirring, so I find it very comfortable to slip in and out of. Fun fact about this JSK is that because it's like a poly or chiffon, I can't remember how they describe it exactly, but I spilled tea on myself and didn't realize it at a meet, but because it is a poly material, it rinsed right out no problem. I didn't have to like really soak it or anything. So while I do prefer cotton in general for the way it lays on me and the way it looks, in this particular case, in terms of stain removal, it was so easy. That's one of the advantages, I suppose. Next, we have my second piece that is from that old school era. It is Metamorphose's self frill pin tuck Burberry fabric, I think, in lavender. This was a lavender that's a bit more warm. I usually end up wearing this one to like old school meets just because I really like it. It's a little bit more quintessential old school compared to bridal OP, which is not as much, but I really like it. It's got a pin tuck that's pretty long. It has an A-line skirt shape, which we don't see all too often in Lolita anymore. But I find A-line to be a very flattering cut on anyone. I like that it has a more subtle like shape just because it is A-line. But yeah, it cords well. I've got a bunch of ivory blouses. I usually wear this blouse with it. Ivory head bow is always good. There was like this rose gold lane head bow that I'll put here with like the maker, and they had a lavender one, so usually that's the one I end up wearing with this one, and I like it. It has corset lacing, and the lacing is actually in these little rivets, like how you would do shoelaces. This is a dress that has been with me since my beginning in Lolita fashion. It is Angelic Pretty's Princess Cat Peplum JSK. And it has a lot of detachable bits, which I've mostly, like, I remove and I hang because I mix and match these bits with a lot of my dresses. But it's really cute. It's this nice pale lavender. I wore this for the Friday opening day of Rose Parade this year. And it's one of those dresses that every time I wear it, I get a lot of compliments on it. So definitely a crowd pleaser. I like the asymmetrical bodice in terms of, like, this lace dot overlay. The detachable bows with like the pearl chain. One of them is bigger than the other, so you're continuing with the asymmetry. Let me see. Yeah, so you can kind of see like they're continuing the asymmetry with these bows and the pearl chain. I love wearing pearls, especially with Lolita, so this is a natural fit for jewelry that I already have. It is full back shirring and very comfortable, which I like as well. What else do we have going on? I mean, it's just cute. It's this lovely cat pair that are hanging out on sofas. And I feel like angelic pretty wise, this is one of the prints that they've nailed in every colorway. This is, I feel like this and the pink are like the lighter colorways, but then there's also a dark green and a dark red, and those are also very beautiful. Yeah, I always like seeing people court it. The fun fact is that these, they're probably my favorite waist ties. I like that they have this kind of forked look to them, and then they have a little bow. And if you have a waist bow, it's like you got two extra set of bows. What is fun is that depending on, because I owned this in another cut, I owned this in the tiered one, which was also quite cute. But I ended up selling that one because I prefer the peplum. There's chandeliers on this dress, and the waist ties that I got for my original dress were of two different chandelier types. So you have this nice swoopy, elegant chandelier, and this nice curly, like beautiful chandelier. All right, so you can see they look different. And when I had the other cut briefly, they both had the same one. I just thought it was interesting. I kind of liked having one of each type of chandelier, so that's how I kept it when I did sell the other cut. But I thought it was fun, and it always makes me think, like, were there matching parties back when this released where they're like, hey, I've got like a swirly chandelier and I've also got a swoopy chandelier. Does anyone want to swap so we can have the same ones? Or were people like wanting to, oh, I want one swirly, one swoopy? Like, did they not think about it that much? It's now officially the oldest dress that is in my wardrobe. My first dress that I bought was a pre-order, which didn't come for a while. And the two other dresses that I had while I was waiting for that pre-order, I have since sold. So this is like the longest lasting in my wardrobe in terms of time spent under like my ownership, I guess. This is the re-release JSK, the most recent one of Moitie's Iron Gate. I did a review on this piece. I found myself very pleased with it. It has no back shirring, and the listing measurements, I would say, are true. I would not risk it because there's really not that much wiggle room. I love ladder lacing. This has ladder lacing. I just think this is a really stunning piece. The only thing I will say is that because it's white, I felt like the fabric on the bodice was very thin and clung to my form. So I feel like when I wear this one, I have to wear more of a padded undershirt because it will cling to any like details on your chest. That's usually not the look people want for Lolita. So I wear more of a padded undershirt with my blouse. With the white colorway, I don't know if the darker colorways have the same issue where it is more revealing. But you can even kind of see it, like there's this line here from where the fabric is sewn to the liner, and even that's visible. So it's a pretty see-through bodice. Yeah, it's fun. It's my first Moitié piece. I see why people like Moitié. I was very happy with how this one came to me. I got it on a sale at Wonderwell using their coupons, so it just made sense. I had also been eyeing up the Iron Gate teacup for a really long time, and this was like a time where I was like, well, if I combine both, I get more of a discount. So I did do that, and now I have the teacup as well. And I wore that to KCON 2023, one of the days. Now we have a familiar piece. You've already seen it. It's Baby the Stars Shine Bright, Kuma Kumia Marine Island 1 in the mint. So I had the navy earlier. That's what you saw. I originally had the pink in the 2 cut. This is that 1 cut where it's more of like a midder, like this waist instead of like a empire waist. It has the pearl jewelry. It has the heart with the baby pin in it, detachable. And this time, because it's mint, it has yellow sand. So that's the example I was talking about earlier, how I feel like Baby did a great job color balancing this particular release with all of its different colors and details in the different colorways. It also has the scallop hem. I don't know if I showed that off for the other one. And then this nice sea foamy type of lace. That just is so very cute. Wore this one to Rose Foray for the tea party. And super fun is that I was tweeting with someone, and I've always wanted that to happen where I go to a big tea party and someone else is wearing the same piece I'm wearing. They were wearing the pink Empire cut of this JSK. And I was just like, oh my gosh, like good taste. Like it was so exciting. I think their username is like Bizarre Jelly or Bizarro Jelly, but they were so nice. Yeah, it was just exciting an experience to be able to be like, oh, we're wearing the same piece. Like, ooh. I was worried if I got two colorways of this, I would wear one more, but I do a really good job, I think, at alternating them just because the print is so different in the two colorways that I feel like it has a different feeling. Now we have Baby the Star Shine Bright Kumya Kumya's Sweet Ice Cream in the one cut. And what I like about this one is the dripping collar, like an ice cream cone. I like that it has stripes because I love stripes in Lolita. It has the scallop hem. It's just really enjoyable. I got the detachable waist bow somewhere. My style is changing. And this one is on that cusp of I have other mint JSKs that are sweet. Is this another one that I really want to keep? But I like that it has more of that brown. So it'll stick around for a bit longer. I just don't know how long. And then after that, we have Dollbe's Bunny Basket JSK in the green. I wanted this one for a long time. And 2023, Dollbe was doing a going out sale where they were like, we're not going to be making any more JSKs, so get it while you can. And I'd been wanting this green one for a while, but just kind of like pushing it off. I love this. It is a very sturdy fabric. While I was waiting for this one to come in, I had a really good time on Lollibrary trying to go back and document some of her older series because I do think she has a lot of really pretty and interesting pieces. So that was like my first real big foray into making entries on Lollibrary. And if you haven't done it before, and there's an indie brand especially that you want to make sure has entries in it, there are a few videos out there as well as a Discord server for Lollibrary where they can give you information. There's also a wiki, but the best way is to just join the Discord server and like mess around and like figure it out, ask questions, especially if you see a gap in documentation, because a lot of these brands, when if they choose to no longer continue in Lolita for one reason or another, a lot of these designs and pieces get lost. So it's nice to have an archive of what was this piece, what colors did it come in, was there any brand notes. I always love the brand notes that have like a little something specific to say. So yeah, that was fun. I had a really good time documenting some of her older releases, especially looking through Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram. It was just fun, and I felt like I was contributing to a community that means a lot to me. But Dollbe JSK, very nice. My friend has the orange colorway, and I'm hoping we can twin at some point. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. I love bunnies, and I love greens, so I'm very happy to have this. The second to last main piece that is currently in my wardrobe, sort of, or at least hanging up, is this Metamorphose Patissiere in the Forest, the 2021 collar release. And this was the piece I saw on their page that made me go, I want to be a Lolita. And I pre-ordered this one in the green, as you can see, and I'm obsessed with it. They recently re-released Patissiere in the Forest in a front button JSK, and I really want the red of it, but I waited just a little too long. It went quick though, and they restocked, and then it was so quick. So this is a great piece. It has a bustle in the back that's white. Earlier releases of Patissiere in the Forest have a black bustle, which is always fun. I love finding new ways to cord this piece just because for your first piece in Lolita, there's a lot going on here. You've got this lovely tartan plaid. You've got a border print that's pretty busy. You've got raining different treats, detachable fur collar, a bustle, trim that's white. So it's been a lot of fun for me as I've continued in this fashion to try and cord this piece in different ways or to make little tweaks here and there. And I'm always finding new reasons to love this particular piece. It's just gorgeous. Like this one will always be in my wardrobe. And this was one of the pieces I wore at Rose Foray. I actually wore the same cord twice. So earlier, one of my friends in the that I'm a part of had an Animal Crossing themed meet. And I was Poppy, who is one of my favorite villagers in Animal Crossing. So I did a Poppy cord with this, and I liked it so much that I said that will be one of the cords I wear to Rose for in like a week or two. So there we go. Now there's a few other pieces, including the one I'm wearing, that I'm going to be talking about now. The first one is Baby the Star Shine Bright, Fa La La or La 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 Swing Furry Puppy. I have one of these JSKs in the Sax colorway, and it is such a bright sax. I can bring it over here actually. So it's a very bright sax with like these cute little like poodly looking characters. It's floral, it's very spring, it has polka dots, it has music notes, and because it has like the music strands and instruments, it also has stripes for like the sheet music. Yeah, the sheet music. So you've got different patterns here. You've got printed lace, which I always think is really fun. Music notes all over the place, these roses that are beautiful, daisies, just great stuff. Now, the reason why it's on the hanger is because the invisible zipper, last time I put it on, I was like moving way too fast when I was taking it off, and it like split the zipper as I was pulling it down. So I need to either fix that zipper by getting it back on the track, or more likely I'm going to have to replace it, which I don't mind. This is the dress I wore when my partner and I went out to celebrate my birthday this past, or last March, I guess I should say, because it's 2025 now. So I really like it. What I like about this is it's very easy to do a blouseless cord, which I found out because in the sun it was very warm, and originally I had this little Sleepyland bolero that I was wearing with it. And when I took the bolero off, because it was so hot in the sun, it actually looked quite nice. So I was very pleased with that. There's a dress I have that's coming in the mail, and it's either going to come in before the end of 2024, or it's going to come in very early in 2025. I don't know which one. But honorable mention to this Metamorphose Le Bordeaux. This is a Swallowtail collab. It's the navy colorway, and I always love embroidery, and this particular piece has that. And the last piece I'm going to be talking about is the piece that I'm wearing today, and that is going to be Metamorphose Temps de Fille. There, from the original release of it, it is the OP cut, which came with a detachable collar and a detachable sleeve set. These sleeves had like these little purple bows on it, which are also on the same collar. And this is the opal green colorway. What really drew me to this piece was various colors with it. So it has a very specific shade of green, but then it also has purple, and it's also balancing different oranges and reds and yellows in it, which I find to be like a very attractive combination. It's also my first Lolita piece, and it's become one of the pieces that I go to whenever I don't know what to wear, when I want to wear something that's going to be comfortable for long periods of time. Maybe like my mobility is more limited or my energy is more limited that day. This is one of those pieces I go to, similar to Ribbon Milky Sugar. The shirring in the back is very accommodating, and I love pieces where I don't need to zip it. I can just slip in and out. That is my favorite type of Lolita main piece. Very low effort, but like you get a lot out of it. I also really like kimono and yukata, so while preparing for my trip to Japan, I was doing a lot more research. I love this piece. I've got myself a little hair accessory here that I got for my yukata that I bought while in Japan. And in terms of main pieces, I think that covers everything. I will absolutely be doing, at least I hope to do, one video a month about various different things related to the fashion. So if you're interested in sticking around for that, since I don't post as regularly, it's a good idea to subscribe. You can also find me on Tumblr, that's where I'm most active, but I'm also on Blue Sky, and depending on my energy, I usually am pretty active on there as well. I've really enjoyed it as an alternative to Instagram because I really don't like Instagram, but that's where I find most of the other Lolitas are. As someone that never got into Twitter, I'm using it the way I would use Tumblr. So you can find me on Blue Sky, on Tumblr, technically on Instagram, at Royalsealy. I hope you have a lovely new year. I hope that it is stress free, and I hope that everything turns out for the best. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you again.